I'm John Mathis, and welcome to the One City Podcast, where the Big C Church talks about faith, culture, and what is happening in our world. We believe that unity starts with honest conversations and a shared mission. So let's build one city together. Today, I'm joined with, as always, our executive director, Kemp Boyd. Pastor Kemp Boyd. He's also co-pastor of Garden City Church. Let's give him a round of applause.
Hey, what up?
And our special guest today, Mr. Gary Underwood. Now, I want to get it right. Love Pastors, you're the executive director of Love Pastors, right?
I like to say Chief Encouragement Officer, but we're just
love that, Gary. Come on now.
There's not much to executively direct yet. We just started, so but yes.
Okay.
Love Pastors.
Well, let's jump right into it. A lot of our viewers, they might not know what Love Pastors are. They know what Love Akron is, but you kind of got something going that is needed in our community, and we'll kind of get to the statistics later down the road. But can you give us a little bit of a synopsis of what Love Pastors is, how it started, why it started, and you can even give us some details about yourself too. I think the viewers want to know who you are.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much.
Besides a Lakers fan, we're kindred
love
spirits.
LeBron
because
James, the Lakers, Ohio State. We could do that for a while.
Yeah.
Right. But no, part of my deal is I was a pastor myself from Akron, grew up at the chapel, and was mentored and then got opportunities to pastor under Newt Larson. So back in the day, but grateful for him. And I went on to be a lead pastor for 12 years, just north of Columbus, Ohio. Made a lot of great ministry friends, but also learned a lot, kind of went through a lot and realized ministry leadership it's a privilege, but it's also a grind and it's also a unique burden. And it does affect all of your relationships. And so I found, like, over the years, man, some of my closest friends were other brothers and sisters in Christ who not only loved Jesus, but they could be real about their leadership challenge. And so that's where God was gradually leading me to meet more leaders. I was thrilled to finally meet you, Kemp, after hearing so many great things about you. Joe Caruso introduced us. But we're in this phase as Love Pastors. I've always felt it as a verb. Like, I love and respect pastors, and I know there are people out there that care about and want to support their ministry leaders. We're taking those people who already feel the verb and trying to make it into a noun. Like, let's actually be something that strategically, that strategically supports and connects pastors.
Yeah. So Kemp, how did you guys actually meet initially, you and Gary?
Yeah, well, a little bit of that was just what Gary said about Joe Caruso kind of connecting us together, because I think Joe kind of saw some similarities in Gary's kind of walk, but also in the walk that I'd made even coming into Love Akron and what that looks like. And so as Joe connected us, I began to hear Gary's heart for relationships, which is, man, so much about who we are and what we do. It's in our DNA, but also I think it's just a part of my being as well. And so as we began to kind of vibe, it was like one of these, I think it's been a journey of discovery, right? To where we're discovering one another, but also where we intersect with each other as far as what we strive to do. I would say from a kingdom perspective, as we help to influence our communities that we live in, whether it's with pastors or with different organizations or communities as a whole. And so as a result of us continuing to be intentional, I think about meeting each other where we are, we started realizing and understanding, like, hey, man, we are kind of vibing in some same spaces and places instead of us trying to go along. Like, we still have our solo journeys and mission, but I think we've discovered, like, there's places where we need to be partnering a little bit more intentionally. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing now as a result of us being on this podcast together, being able to talk about that and walk that through.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So what, and we'll kind of keep going. What made you really start having the passion to begin caring for pastors' well-being? And it's more than physical, right? It's mental, physical, spiritual. Kind of what event happened that pushed you in that direction to kind of start going down this path? Because pastors, they deal with a lot. It's a lot of statistics out there with depression and even suicide and completely stepping away from the faith because of stress and different things. So what kind of led you down this path?
Yeah, I think my journey as a pastor, when I realized after being in the lead pastor role for 5 or 6 years, like I had friends in the congregation and friends from back home, but I really started to bond in deeper ways with three other pastors in our community. This is north of Columbus in Delaware, Ohio. So Al Perry, Dean Folks, and Jason Allison, three of us guys, we would get together. Like we'd actually get out of town for lunch and get wings and have an hour or two together, and it was
Yeah.
like refreshing. That I wasn't the only one living this life or dealing with these challenges or the burden of whatever it is, preaching every week, resolving conflict, building a staff,
Yeah.
trying to love the community and represent Jesus well and be salt and light. It helped me to meet others who were like in the same role, and I felt more of a freedom to. I didn't have to translate things, for them. So that was one my experience, and then second, like with COVID, I think that paused a lot of us. And at the time, I was in a role with a ministry called Compassion International, where they were paying me to pursue and build friendships with lead pastors. So it pushed me out of my network or denomination or what, like get to know all the pastors you can,
Right.
right? And since we can't travel around the world, it was just like spend time with them, pray, ask how they're doing, what challenges they're facing. So I did a lot of listening, and
Yeah.
and that's where I got like, oh man, these pastors at times it just helps for them to have somebody to talk to, someone to connect them, someone who's willing to listen and maybe isn't like reporting to them or they're not like asked to deliver or pastor me, like just
Yeah.
unload sometimes. And that I think was God starting to say, Gary, there needs to be more people who are approachable and care about pastors and who are, Kemp, I'm going to say Switzerland again, like are a neutral friend.
Yeah.
Like we agree and follow Jesus together, but like professionally, I can just know you as Kemp and not pastor
Yes.
or not like I'm trying to get something from you.
Absolutely.
So that was my long pastor answer to your question.
And if I could, John, could I jump into that for a
Yeah,
second?
go ahead.
I think it's a thing too, John, as you kind of entered into this and you start talking about the different statistics, whether it's, depression, suicidal ideation, walking away from the ministry, but also there is now, I would say, this kind of epidemic of even divorce and infidelity when it comes to pastors. And I don't say that
Talk
from a
about
plans. I don't say that from a perspective of judgment or of criticism, but I'm saying that from the perspective of that's what happens when we go through depression, anxiety, or stressors. Because what we wind up doing, John and Gary, I'm sure you've seen this as well, but what we wind up doing is using sinful coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And we like to call that here through the GRM Institute, Grief Recovery Institute, is that those are called STIRBs, right? They're the short-term energy relieving behaviors, right? But the key thing is it's a short-term thing, right? So I may go out and do this, but it's only going to relieve me for the short term. And anything that does that in the short term, guess what? I'm going back hunting for it again.
Yeah. And
Right,
even,
because
even
it
more
made
of it.
me, even more, right? Because it made me feel good, so I want to feel good again, so I continue to do it. And I think because of what you just said, Gary, because we often refer to people more as pastor, right, versus just Gary, because we really get caught up in a sense of titles,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so my wife sent me a quote a couple of weeks ago. Shout out to Stacy Boyd. What's up, Stacy? She said, "Hey, the quote that she came up that she sent me was, the quote simply said, are you leading from a calling or are you leading for a calling? Those are two different things. Leading from a calling is a being thing. Leading for a calling is more of I'm looking for fame, recognition, and validation."
Yep.
Right. And so when you're leading from that perspective or from that way, that goes back into, I think, what John kind of led us with like some of the outcome of those things, right? Because I haven't gotten what I thought I should be getting, that leads me to be frustrated, to be angry. And now it becomes a stressor. Now I get depressed. Now I'm searching and seeking for different validation from things. But I just love your heart, Gary, from a standpoint of through your own walk of discovery, you start to realize, like, I just need some people to be around to where I can just be Gary.
Yep.
And I can have this community to where I can bring the best version of myself to it and not be consumed with the outcome, right? Which shout out to Brene Brown, that's the real definition of vulnerability, right? Where I'm not consumed with whatever the outcome may be of this interaction with people. I'm still Gary. You know what I mean? And so I just appreciate that about you, brother.
Yeah, that's good. So the top 3 reasons or things that pastors go through, stress was number 1, 56%. The next one caught me off guard, and you kind of already talked about it: loneliness and isolation, like not having community, right? Because people think, okay, just because pastors are on this platform and they're speaking to a lot of people, they deal with loneliness and isolation probably more than the typical person.
It's not ironic. It's crazy.
It's kind of crazy. And then the third one was political division, but that loneliness and isolation, why do you think that is such a high percentage in pastors? Is it because it's hard for people to relate to them, or vice versa?
Yeah, and that's what I've found whenever I talk with pastors. Either a loneliness in nobody gets me. Like we use that phrase, like you get me, or like I found my people. Well, the pastor's always leading the people and giving to the people, and it feels selfish to a pastor to put things on the calendar that I enjoy or that I want to do, and so when I heard one thing that impacted me was hearing older pastors who had been doing it for a long time say, hey, I had a moment, or I had a crash, or I had anxiety attack, or I was in the hospital for a week, just overcome with stress. And like, what changes did you make after that stuff that you didn't foresee, right? For caring for your health physically, mentally. Like, did you ever go to a counselor? Why didn't you? Were you at times, for whatever reason, pastors are, in fact, one of my pastor friends says, like, we're so used to LeBron Jamesing it.
Yeah.
Like, ISO ball, I got the ball, I can lead the church, I can give the message, I can lead the staff. And we get so focused on that role that we forget we're actually human. And other people will let us forget that we're actually human. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And so it's easy to get isolated. The other thing, too, is, Kemp, you saw me diagram that thing out about our relational energy. Pastors are often giving relational energy out to other people.
Yes.
Either that they're discipling or helping grow, or they have good intentions with, or others that like strategic friends that help them grow the ministry.
Crazy.
They're not pursuing a lot of relationships, or they don't have energy to anymore, that are just for themselves, like just friends, just peers.
Leading to that burnout that we were talking about.
And I think along with that, too, there's a sense of isolation, and you touched on it. You just dipped your toe in it for a second, Gary, is that people don't allow us to be anything but the pastor. And so with that comes this almost sense of invincibility, and it comes this sense of you're not a commoner, right? So I think people get really taken back when you as a pastor from platform, you're almost preaching and you're getting a point and you're using yourself as an illustration.
Yeah.
As an example. Because it's like, oh man, you go through that. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm human and I'm clothed in flesh, right? So I don't mind from platform being very vulnerable to talk about a season when I was leading while bleeding. Because that's what happens to us a lot of times, right? Yeah. Is we don't really realize it until we begin to go and look back and we get to the point to where we're actually bleeding out. Because, wow, we haven't done the most important work of self-care. And so because self-care is not often talked about because it's seen as being selfish, or it's like, no, I need to go and do this. I need to go and visit the sick and shut in. I need to get to the hospital. I got to perform the wedding. I got to perform the funeral. And even in that, John, what's not happening is not only am I not taking care of myself, but we don't understand that there's a secondhand trauma. When something happens to somebody in our congregation, and then you're called as a pastor, you're walking in that trauma with that person. Yeah. It doesn't happen directly to you, but you become a bystander of their trauma. Yeah. Yep. You know what I mean? And so we don't give ourselves enough room or enough space to really process things the way we should because, well, we just got to keep going. We got to keep moving. And I think that becomes almost a false mandate for us in the role as being pastors when it's like, no, man, you have to not only be able to lead, but also you got to be a really great follower. So sometimes we got to focus on a little bit more followership and maybe less fellowship.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think pastors, they pour constantly. Yeah. And you eventually you can't pour from an empty cup.
No.
So you need someone to also pastor you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like you said, we hold pastors to this level of invincibility, and they're normal people. So, and I think that also contributes to when pastors falter.
Yes.
It's such a falling away. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Can you believe
thought
this?
they had it all together.
Yeah.
They're the ones that helped us get our stuff together.
Right. It's almost like we're idolizing
Yes.
this position, right?
Yeah.
This position
Absolutely.
of the pulpit, when really these are people who have just been called to that purpose.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things
Yes.
you could ever do. What are Gary? Can you give us some advice? What are some of the warning signs that a pastor may be headed towards that burnout? Just for if you're a viewer, if you're a pastor, if you're watching, even if you're in ministry, you can be in the children's ministry, right, and still face like burnout.
Yeah.
Because I think about it all the time. I'm like, all right, service is 90 minutes long, 2 hours, whatever your service is. You're back there with kids that entire time. You're serving every week. When are you ever in the service? You know what I mean?
Right.
As a volunteer. So this can kind of go
As a
both
spectator.
ways.
Yeah.
Pastors deal with it. Also, the volunteers that serve every week. Me personally, I serve a lot at church. So I've taken over the years being pastor, I take a certain day as a Sabbath where I focus on my own spirituality since I do serve a lot on actual Sundays. You know what I mean? But what are some signs that a pastor or volunteer is headed towards burnout that you've seen?
When they're talking about Ohio State too much. They're really not good at all. That's a sign that you're burning out.
Is it possible to talk about the reigning national championships?
Oh,
too
my
much?
goodness.
Is that?
Oh,
Jeremiah
my
Smith's coming back. What else
Oh
do you
my
need?
goodness. Get out of
Safety
here.
We need to
Alabama
beat we need to
transfer,
beat
right?
Michigan.
Exactly.
That's the one thing that
Oh man, now I'm about to have a meltdown. I watch for a pastor's joy. Like does that pastor exude joy? I know they can be extroverts. I know they can portray joy on a stage.
yeah.
But like in conversations, like are they delighted by things that are outside of the church, like their family, their spouse, something they did for fun? Like, do they talk about hobbies? Do they talk about? Does that make sense? Like, is there like a wealth of like current good things going on that they're celebrating? That would be a good indicator.
Right.
A negative would be if it's always about church, right? Or if it's always about a struggle that they're facing, or it's always about having to be accurate on a sermon or a church point or things. Are they taking steps to pursue people that are peers? I would see that as healthy. If they're not, or if they're shying away, or if they never go to a group, I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You can't return every phone call, but if you're declining a lot of invitations, because pastors get those.
Yeah.
Like if you put up walls.
Yep.
Or if you're some of it too is our pastors accountable? Like, do they have people that really know them or not? It doesn't have to be me or a ministry like Love Pastors, but since a lot of them don't, and often they're either too busy, too relationally spent, or they have an identity crisis where their identities become so wrapped up in their role that they don't know who they are anymore.
That's good.
And so here's one of the reasons like Love Pastors is even existing, because sometimes when a pastor hears a podcast or goes to a conference, they're told you do need to do self-care, and then they get a to-do list of here's the 8 things you need to do, and I'm like, oh geez, like we're already busy.
Yeah.
Right. Love Pastors, and even what I love about Love Akron is there's a friendship, a relational focus of like, we want to hang out, we want to get to know you. We're pursuing you. We're creating spaces like lunches or hangout time so that it's not feeling like
fellowship opportunities outside the pulpit.
Yes.
And I think to that point, like, you don't want to, like you said, listen to a podcast, go to a conference and say, hey, you need to do these linear things. And then you're linearly checking off a checkbox.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes things happen very organically. Like we talk about that a lot here at Love Akron. Like there's there is a organically structured way that we go about things. To when we talk about relationships and relationship being a great or the greatest intervention, yeah, we're just going to do that organically, right?
Yeah.
And then what you discover is this is a part of my self-care. It's like, man, I get an opportunity to go sit down and talk to Gary because why? It's someone else feeding into me instead of me always outputting and giving out. And I think another thing, Gary, to kind of piggyback on when you talk about like what are some of the signs, just to tell on me for a second, one of mine was.
Oh, that was going to be the next question.
Yeah. So one thing that happened to me, what I realized is I started taking the bait. What I mean by taking the bait, I started to see things from people as I couldn't receive correction. And I didn't choose into correction, but I chose into offense. So I took the bait of offense, which is a really great book called The Bait of Satan, which is offense that the enemy uses. Like that's how I knew that I was leading while I was bleeding. Because I had my people who was, if you will, in my circle, people that I love and
people you have a good relationship with, and if they tell you something, it's not malicious.
Oh, yeah. But, man, I was taking it all the way to the left to where I couldn't receive it. Like, I could receive it, like, in front of you, but in my heart, man, I was like, man, what are they talking about? And I just couldn't. And so that let me know I was hitting a space and a place to where, man, I need to step back for a minute. Like, I need to step back. I need to Sabbath. I need to spend some alone time with the Lord. But also, I need to acknowledge where I was at. And many times, Gary, to the point that you was making before, we don't do a good job of that as pastors or as people, period.
Right.
We don't acknowledge or tell on ourselves almost from a confessional perspective because we have this image of ourselves that we have bought into, right? Similar to Peter, right? Yep. Peter saw himself as this leader, this loyal, if you will, disciple. But then when Jesus said, hey, man, Peter, you're actually going to deny me 3 times. He's like, no, man, I'll go to prison and to death with you.
Yeah.
Right.
But then when he did it, like Jesus looks at him, he's like, oh, man, well, what went away was what he lost was the image that he had of himself as this loyal disciple, right? Yeah. But it's like, no, man, you needed to acknowledge and to confess that. We'll look at it now and be like, oh, man, Peter was so wrong. But then we have to discover how Jesus then restored Peter back. And that's what we all need, right? We need those moments that we can heal and be restored after we almost kind of invite Jesus into those times when we feel hurt or at pain or even oppressed by the title or by the position.
That's deep. You said a lot, Kemp.
Mic drop right there.
Yeah.
For real. I was going to ask, like, who has helped you process it personally? Like, when you hit that point where, like, oh, I'm like inwardly rebelling against that correction or rebelling against this thing. Like, who is it? Is it?
I think, spiritually, obviously, man, it's the Holy Spirit. I think the Holy Spirit, who is our helper, kind of reveals those things to us, right, from a spiritual perspective. And I think, too, from a practical, just individual, I think my wife, Stacy, is really huge for me in that. Like, I will go run and tell her something because I feel offended.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it not because I want to share it, but I want her to come and pat me on my back and tell me it's going to be okay or that she agrees. But what she hits me with is like, hey, man, spit on the meat and chew out the bones. Meaning,
right? Yep.
you need to chew on what was real, and anything that wasn't, hey, you need to spit it out and let it go. But also, man, my good friend, my brother who I co-pastor with, Brian Kunkler, man, is a big help for me in that. But I would think even my team here at Love Akron, they're able to speak into me and to talk to me some. John has done that for me. Ethan has done it for me. Lori and others. But also, man, I think, Gary, at other times, it's been you. You don't realize.
To this, Come on. Give me some love after all we've been through these last 6 months.
Oh, but Gary, what I'll tell you is, man, what's interesting.
I'm sorry, keep hitting the table.
Yeah.
What's interesting is like those messages that you leave me come at such the right times that I need to hear a little bit of levity.
Yeah.
Because we go through so much heavy stuff. Like, I need to hear about, hey, man, I'm going to smoke some meat, but I need liquid smoke.
Yes. Yes.
His brother
it speeds up the process.
Yeah, he's just walking through the grocery store, leaving his message. I'm like, man, I needed that. Like, I needed that. Like, you need those little moments of being outside of the seriousness because we equate, so we take ourselves too seriously at times.
Yep.
When it's like sometimes we got to go back and be that child and just, man, like, just laugh at yourself and laugh at these moments.
Well, and can I add one of the aha moments for me about loving pastors was I took 3 pastors who did not know each other. Okay, I knew them from different connections. Let's all go to a Browns game. So we went to an afternoon Browns game, went to the tailgate.
On a Sunday?
Yes, evening.
Wow.
It was an evening game.
Okay.
But unfortunately, it was against the Ravens.
Right.
But none of these guys knew each other. I rented a SUV. We rode up together, and I understand there's something about suffering that brings you together. So Browns game, right, was hard. They got destroyed by the Ravens. It was bad.
Ooh, go Ravens.
But this group of guys were like, on the ride home, they're like, I didn't realize how much I needed this time that's just fun, that I'm not even expected to model how to have fun in a godly way, like as a pet. I'm just going hanging out with some guys, and they needed that, and they all exchanged contact information. It was a breakthrough, but it was also like a realization for them. Oh, like I need this is healthy for my soul, and so I'm looking for ways to, like you said, bring levity, encouragement. Whether that's like Joe Caruso and I went to a movie last week together, Jurassic World.
How did you like the Jurassic movie? Like, was it good? Have you seen the old ones?
Yes, I've seen all of them. I was excited for this one. And I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, there's something where I was like, I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
But like it didn't blow me away. Did you see it?
It didn't blow me away either. It was.
And the mutant dinosaur thing, like
I've never watched any of the Jurassic parts.
See, you need to get out more, Pastor.
Bro, yes. Our friendship needs to go to the next level, Kemp.
Yeah, man, but like, come on, man, let's be real.
You're such a serious movie.
I'm watching a movie, man, about dinosaurs running around. And these people, come on, man, get out of here. That don't even strike my interest.
I mean, like he said, people go to Browns games to see them win. That's just as far-fetched.
What? Oh, well, they're playing the Ravens. Go Ravens.
We should take him to, or like rent and get a big screen, do a pastor's night, watch Jurassic World, and then let Kemp make fun of it for an hour.
You have to watch the first ones to really get hooked in. No. You know, things like that.
Your face.
It ain't happening.
Well,
but Joe and I went to a movie together, and another pastor was there, and it was fun. It was just something that we had wings afterwards, and I would just say this: over the last 3 or 4 years, he and I have done fun stuff, but it's also led to deep conversations. Like one night, it was a Cavs game. I got in the car, and I'm like, Joe, how are you really doing? I think sometimes it's just someone needs to ask the question that takes us beyond the surface level of, do I like dinosaurs, to, hey, what's really going on? Because I am tired of leaving a pastor's group or leaving a pastor's conference and hearing like a month later, this pastor's out of the ministry, or this pastor's, making their last phone call to a counselor, hoping that'll save their marriage or their church. Like, who is building the deeper friendships with these leaders, right? And asking the question, because I care. It's great to have fun, but we got to get past that too.
You got to care. I think pastors never get to turn off, right? This is a good way for a pastor. It doesn't take much for a pastor to talk about pastor stuff.
Right.
They'll find the deep in anything. But I think it's hard for them to turn off. I think about my pastor all the time, even if we're at a cookout, right? People will still approach him. He is a pastor, but even at fun events, it's like, hey, pastor, how you doing? And he got to do the pastor answers. Like, hey,
I'm blessed.
It's like you can't help it unless you say something. Like, we're not allowed to talk about church right now.
Right. So I've known him long enough, even as a kid, to where I feel like he can just be himself. He can make funny jokes and but they don't have that relationship with most people, right? And that's got to be taxing. I mean, everywhere you go, you're on.
Yeah, you guys, and that's exactly what I call it, John. I call it always having to be on. I mean, from the time you get up, you're just on.
And it's a privilege, and it's fun, and God uses that, and it's not fake.
Yeah,
no doubt.
But you do feel on.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like being a business owner, right? Like business owners, they're always thinking about business, as opposed to if you're working a 9 to 5. Anybody, whatever job you have is fine. But if you work a 9 to 5, at 5, you're done thinking about work.
I'm gone.
Once you clock out, you're like, okay, what's for dinner? Like, what show am I going to watch? I'm going to go bike riding tonight. If you're a business owner, You close a deal, you're like, okay, what's the next deal
Right.
I can close? You know what I mean? Like you're always on.
Oh, and one of the things that's hard for a pastor or a business leader to separate from is in a lot of contexts, those people have either a gift or a bent towards leadership. And we notice it when it's not happening. Well,
Yeah.
when there's a lack of leadership in the living room or on the football field or in other places. And so we feel like, oh, somebody's got to step in and lead.
Yeah.
And often that's a beautiful thing.
Dun,
But
dun,
other
dun,
pastors,
dun,
they want to
dun.
be right. I'm in a group of pastors right now where they turned to me and they said, "We need you to lead this so we don't have to." like you facilitate. I'm like, I'm not a lead pastor right now. They're like,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's Switzerland, right?
Yes.
Now you get to be Switzerland.
Yes.
Right? And that's the one thing that I think we've discovered here at Love Akron is that, hey, man, we're not a church. So there are churches and pastors that say, hey, Kim, can you all do this? Right? Because, hey, we'll support you, but we don't want to lead it because then man, we get very territorial in the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
Well, and that's one reason. Another thing I'm finding as I talk with more pastors that have been at this a while, they maybe at some point were open to building deeper connections and they got burned.
yeah.
Maybe by somebody internally,
one.
like their board
That's a
or their
good one,
staff,
brother.
or another pastor in the community.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like where they felt like, oh, this is just a
What?
contest. to
Pastors
see who-
get hurt too?
Yeah, I
Right.
went out thinking that it was going to be this, but then it became that, and I'm not really signing up for that.
Yeah.
Which I think goes back to the third thing that you mentioned, though, John,
dude.
when you talk about the
Political.
politics.
Oh,
Yeah, the
yeah.
political thing, right? Because then pastors are going in thinking like, oh, man, we're going to talk about this and talk about the community, but then it becomes more of a political, then social justice gets mixed in. Not that I'm against any of that stuff,
Right.
but not everybody is for it. And so now we begin to remove ourselves, but in removing ourselves, it's almost like we leave the residue of a false perception
Oh, yeah.
that somebody may have of us because, I don't want to be in that conversation politically. Not that they may not agree, but there's another problem is that we get really caught up in trying to agree when really we got to start asking the question, what are we aligned to? Not do what we agree with. Because listen, I mean, all three of us are married, right? I've been married for 20 years. Gary, you've been married how long?
25 next month.
25 next month. John?
Take off one of those digits. The last one.
2.
15?
2.
No, take off the 5.
Married 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah, we're working towards 2 right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's great.
Good job.
It's going great.
But here's what we all know. We don't agree with our wives on everything.
Most things.
Right.
Right? Most
I'm not
things.
even gonna lie. Most
But we're aligned from a standpoint of, hey, we're going to love our wives as Christ has loved the church.
Yeah.
And we're going to love. So we have that foundation of love that we're aligned to even though we don't agree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we go into some of these spaces, as you're talking about, Gary, we can't go into it saying, okay, well, who's agreeing with me? Because I would say that's not the space I want to be in.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a space where everybody's agreeing with me. I remember when we were together over at the Hall of Fame, and Bishop Johnson spoke to a room of pastors, and I think one of the first things he said, John, was like, hey, it's not about the size of the growth of your church. And you could literally see pastors like, what you talking about, Willis?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't
Like,
you want to reach people?
yeah. And he was very open and vulnerable and transparent about where that led him to. Mm-hmm. Which when we talk about our emotional well-being and our emotional health, he is like, hey, I discovered that wasn't good for me.
Yeah.
Because during and after the service, I was like, how many people were there? And if the number was good, I felt good about it. And when it wasn't, I felt challenged by it. You know what I mean? And so, but for him to present that to a room of pastors, I want to say, Gary, and Gary, you can push back, but I feel like some of those pastors maybe felt some liberation in hearing that, because you're talking about Bishop Joey Johnson,
Right.
who's saying, hey, this is what I've had to overcome. And I felt like there was almost a spirit of freedom after kind of hearing that, to be like, oh, man, whew.
Relief.
I'll take, yeah.
Yep.
It's relief.
Encouragement. I
Yeah.
will say this, pastors, I'm encountering a lot that are hungry for an older, like a father figure in ministry who's been there and been through it. And when they are honest about their struggles,
Yeah.
that's it's a relief.
Yes.
It's encouraging. It's empowering them to
Yep.
stay the course. Like, oh, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just part of the life. But yes, that was I don't have much to push back on there. I think yeah, that was a great night too, just to see Pastor.
Oh, and thank you, man, Gary, for helping to set that up.
Yeah.
I didn't know I needed it
Mm.
until I got there and heard it, and then seeing other pastors.
So, and we're going to finish with talking about events that pastors can and what you have kind of going on.
Yeah.
But the last point I want to talk about is let's talk scripture just for 1 second.
Yeah.
But
No, let's not. Let's not do the pastoral thing and
I
talk
got a
scripture,
sermon if
please.
you're ready. I haven't preached
Right,
in
I
6
already know
years.
you-
I'm ready to roll.
you're going to preach an 18-hour sermon. You know, when a preacher, my pastor always says the best time to preach is after they hear someone preach, then they're ready to go.
Right.
Like
That is
so he'll come up if we have a good pastor,
Here's how
guest
you do it.
pastor, they'll preach real good. He can't wait. He'll get that mic and he's ready. He's full. He's full. But First Timothy talks about being a good steward over your home first, right? And it talks about handling business at home. In your experience, Gary, how much, how is it relatable in the fact that pastors who struggle in ministry also are struggling in their personal life, maybe in their home life? Is there a correlation between that usually? Home isn't handled and maybe ministry is also being affected from, unresolved issues personally.
yeah.
Simple answer,
Well,
yes.
that's a heavy question. I don't have an 18-hour sermon for you, but
Yeah.
I do want to go back to pastors are human
Mm-hmm.
and their marriages are human and
Yeah.
their kids are human. And even if they think they're doing well, like if they think everything's great in their marriage
Yeah.
and in their parenting, it might not be. And so I would encourage pastors, and I do, to have a go-to counselor
Mm-hmm.
that you and your wife can talk with on a regular basis. I got a pastor friend that he's been at the same church for 34 years. He's doing a fantastic job, but he's like, Gary, every Friday I've got 1 hour with my coach.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like a counselor, but not like a licensed mental health therapist.
Yeah.
But he's a coach
Yeah.
that pastor can process stuff with, and let's talk about family. Let's talk about marriage. How's it actually going? Have another couple. Like I've know several ministries right now that are starting small groups for ministry leading couples where they can talk honestly about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because what I have found is that often there is stuff going on at home that if the pastor knows about it, he or she's not dealing with it super well.
Yeah.
And we often don't find out that there's a tragedy or a meltdown or something going on that ultimately this person needs to step out of ministry.
Yeah.
Because of all this. They have to now because they didn't, right? They didn't face it. They didn't lean in and ask for help. It's not something you can talk about on a stage.
Yeah.
But you do need to have someone that's a go-to, and that's why I love Christian counseling ministries that we can call. But call them before you need them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
More
proactive.
from
not-
more from a preventative perspective.
Yes. Yeah.
And not from a treatment and recovery all the time, right?
Yeah.
I know. I want to throw this in because I know John, his first year of marriage, had some challenges that he had to bring to us, and they were very serious. He inherited a dog that he didn't know how to handle or manage. And I remember, Ethan knows this too. He would come in every Tuesday, like just complaining about this dog and
What
how
kind of dog?
It's it's a 70-pound pit bull.
Oh my word!
Yeah, a
Are you
70-pound pit bull.
serious?
And just for
As a
context,
70 pound isn't enough.
for context,
bull.
I never had dogs growing up. Like I've never been a dog owner. I've never been like a dog person.
he had a stepchild.
Yeah, but
Right.
I am.
Dog.
I love my wife dearly. So it just came with the territory.
Yeah.
So he had some challenges.
I had to pray about it.
that he had to walk through.
Yeah,
Right.
we're still walking.
Still have the dog?
We still have the dog. We're still walking, and it's a challenge. And on my pocketbook,
Oh,
on
right.
my wallet,
Oh,
on
this
my,
was
on my
hilarious.
nerves,
Because he had the little camera and he could see what the dog was doing. He's like, man, just look at this dog. What is this dog doing?
You're watching it from here. You're like, I got to get a break, but I'm still gonna watch it.
oh my goodness, it was always something new every day. But he's been rebaptized, and I pray for him every day.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Right.
So Gary, give us, as we wrap up here, give us some things, maybe some upcoming events you got going on, or different ways that people can reach you. if they're looking for, advice or anything that Love Pastor has to offer. You can address the
Oh, I can
people.
look at hey,
Yeah,
there you are.
Address the people.
They've been here the whole time, you guys?
Yes.
Well, we are moving from the verb of love pastors
Yeah.
and finding and calling people who already love and care pastors and want to do that in
Yeah.
real ways. Lovepastors.com is about to go live the next week or so. Love Pastors Day at a live music festival is next Friday.
So when you're seeing this, it will be
It's
live.
already a thing.
It will be
Yeah.
live. Yeah.
Yep. But I would say this: if you are a pastor or a part of a pastor's family and you're listening to this, like your step isn't towards us as an organization. I think your step would be to say, what life-giving people and things do I need to regularly have in my life, right?
Yeah.
Who can I be honest with? Who can I reach out to that needs encouragement? That kind of thing. Like, do the thing first. Love pastors.
Yeah.
But the second thing is, yes, we are looking to, like that event that you came to at the Hall of Fame with Bishop, and there were probably 20 other pastors.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I was like, in my head, I wanted 100 pastors there. I'm like, and even that night challenged us, like, it's not about numbers.
Yeah.
You know how that night ended.
Yes.
And it was like God showed up in a powerful way, and new connections were made, friendships were formed, guys were encouraged in their calling. And am I giving you the 18-hour version yet?
No, you're good.
Like that,
You're good.
But like that's what we are. That's what we want to do. And so we'll be working with Love Akron, and we're working with the Lookout in Stark County to help connect pastors. Some of it's going to be, hey, pastor, if you don't have a group
Yeah.
that you're in regularly, that you're not leading, but that's a safe place for you to process, maybe with other pastors, because some of the best conversations we have as small groups of pastors is about our families.
Yeah.
It is about our marriages. It is about our schedules and things that are bringing us joy. And I think one of the things that's unique, and that I'm realizing the value in, Kemp, with one city in Akron, how you've grown this thing, it's been one person at a time or one relationship at a time. I'm here because Joe Caruso invited me and introduced us, right?
Yeah.
I came to the big annual Love Akron meal because Darren Brake invited me, and I got to sit with him and his friends. Like be an inviter.
Yeah.
Even if it's you've got the need to.
Yeah.
Just make the invite.
Yeah, that's good.
Love
Let's break bread together, right? We need the apostles always. There was always something to do with food. They were always having a dinner. They were always having a conversation. They worked. They did the miracles, but they had some fellowship also. Yeah. They had some fellowship. So, but if you want to get involved, you said it's lovepastors.com.
Yeah, lovepastors.com. Yep, and Love Pastors on Instagram, and Gary at lovepastors.com if you want to email me, or just call Kemp and we'll get connected. Kemp, you can vet the people that call him. No, seriously, we want to connect with pastors.
Yeah,
and love them. I also love meeting people that, like I've got a buddy who did a sabbatical. What a great thing for a pastor, for a church to bless. But he had a friend from church, like as he announced it, the week later came up and gave this pastor a gift and said, we want you to take care of your family during the sabbatical, do something fun. Like a spontaneous gift to a pastor, never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing. Perfect. Listen, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Visit lovepastors.com for more information. Make sure you tune in next time.